what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Fly Tying Friday. Tonight I'm tying a fly for you I've been calling the high floater caddis. Basically it's a regular elk hair caddis but with a foam underbody, and I think it really improves the flotation of the fly. I started tying the fly this way because I was having trouble one day just getting my regular elk hair caddis to float because I was low on floatant, and I wanted some that would float better if I ever ran out of floating in the future. And it's really not much different than a regular elk hair caddis, so I pretty much just tie them all this way now. So I figured it'd be a pretty good fly to show you guys. I'll get a fresh hook in the vise and we'll get right into it here. Okay, so the hook I'm using is a Fulling Mill FM50. This is their ultimate dry fly hook in black nickel. As you can see, it has a bit of an upturned point to it, and it's just been working really well. Nice barbless hook. I've used a few different dry fly hooks in the past, and it's kind of tough to find a light wire dry fly hook that's not super flimsy. So I've kind of just settled on these Fulling Mill dry fly hooks because out of the few companies I looked at, these seem to have the most durable and rigid hook platform. So it's kind of just a self-confidence thing. If I'd hook into a big fish, I want a hook that's going to hold up. But I'm going to come in here with some UTC 70 and dark brown. And I'm going to start this thread about a hook eye back, and that's going to act as a place marker for me to know where to start and stop the foam body, and that just gives me enough space right there for the elk hair head and at the end of the fly. For the foam body, I'm just using 2mm light olive foam. This particular foam is made by Hairline Dubbing, but 2mm is what they sell in craft stores a lot. So you can use any craft foam that you like in any color, but it's really tough to find this light olive, or sometimes you can find tan, but even that's pretty tough to find. Any greens you find in a craft store, like bright, vibrant greens, not that they won't work, but I like this light olive a lot, and a lot of times fly shops are the only place you can really find these muted dark earth tones. So we'll go ahead and tie this foam in. I'm just going to tie it in right there at the tip, and I'm going to try to compress this initial tie down all the way throughout this fly. Just make sure you have it nice and solid. This foam tends to kind of roll and move on you if you don't have it tied in solid. But I'm going to give it a bit of a stretch and work my way back a little bit past the bend of the hook, compressing that foam down with some nice tight touching wraps the whole way. And you just want to go right there, just a little bit past the bend of the hook, and that lets room for that first wrap to lay down. Now I'm going to tie in the hackle I'll be using. I'm going to tie it in from the tip, and you can tie in your hackle later by doing the wire technique. Basically, you tie in wire here, then the last step you do for the body is wrap your hackle backwards and secure it with wire. It does make a bit more durable fly, but as you'll see here in a second, this hackle stem kind of sits down inside the foam, so your stem's protected with this fly a little bit more than a normal elk hair caddis. And I think the weight of the wire is negligible, but it still does add weight. And my goal with this fly was just make it as light as possible with as many floating qualities as possible. So I left the wire out on this one. I'm going to tie it in from the tip, just pull a few hackle fibers back and tie it in right there at the back of the foam. Work your way forward and trim out that tip. Come back to where we started the foam in the first place. So the trick with wrapping this foam body is to not overlap any of your wraps. It makes it extremely bulky because this is 2mm thick foam. If you overlay any of your wraps, you'll get lots of big bumps and also reduce your hook gap a lot. So you just got to be very cautious of that, and each wrap, just make sure it doesn't wrap over the last previous wrap. You can see the angle of your wrap is going to be pretty steep because it's such a wide piece of foam. So you're only going to get 3, maybe 3.5 wraps in of foam before you reach your tie-off point. Go ahead and capture that once we get to the front there. And give it another tug and cut it. Then I'll just make sure that tag end is really fastened down, because that foam is wrapped so tightly that if you don't fasten down that end, it'll just unravel on you pretty quickly. All right, now we're gonna palm our hackle up. Just take open spiraling wraps up the body. And capture that once we get back to the end of the foam. Okay, all that's left is to go ahead and set the elk hair wing. I'm using Nature Spirit Natural Select Cow Elk. This is just the natural elk color. I also like this dark dun color. It makes a really sweet looking fly. Just depends on your hatches, your local hatches. I like this elk hair. A lot of times I fish this in brookie streams. This is like my go-to dry fly for brook trout streams. They're not super picky, and this natural elk hair is a little bit lighter, so it's easier to see on the water. So that's why I tend to go with that. But for more finicky trout, or if you have really dark caddis, that other one could work for you pretty well. So I'm just gonna trim out a clump of elk hair, and this is about the size I start with. Go ahead and comb out all the underfur and short fibers, clean it up a little bit. And then I'll go ahead and throw that in the stacker and get all those tips lined up. So when you pull it out of the stacker, this is what it should look like. You see that it's pretty obvious they're all lined up because all those black guard hairs are even, and you get a nice black line at the end of your stack of hair. So we'll go ahead and pull that out of the stacker, try to keep that nice and even. Clump that hair together a little bit better and measure this out. Once I get the measurement I want, I'll switch hands and go ahead and do 1 loose wrap, 2 loose wraps, and then pull down tight. Be careful not to break your thread here, and I just do a couple more securing wraps, getting tighter and tighter to make sure it's nice and secure. Go ahead and take a look at your wing, see if you like the length of it. Everything looks good. You're gonna preen back all these longer hairs, and now basically you're gonna come in and take 2/3 of that front clump, pull it back, and then run your thread down inside and give it a nice tug. What this is doing is securing that elk wing even tighter, and so we'll come back in to get about 2/3 of it, another nice securing wrap, and then we'll bring all those hairs back, move your thread to the main hook shank right behind the eye, and do a few securing wraps. Go ahead and whip finish. I like to do 2 3-turn whip finishes, and this is the easiest time to whip finish because you can bring all those fibers back, get it out of the way, and look at your hook eye. So there's 1 whip finish. Make sure that's all tight and trim it down. All right. Now preen those fibers back forward. And what you're gonna do is just go, if you could imagine the hook eye standing up straight, you're gonna go about a hook eye width up on this elk hair and just trim it flat at a slight angle. So gather up all your fibers. Just trim about half of them out of your way, make sure everything's looking good, and trim the rest of them. And just make sure everything with the head is nice and cleaned up how we want. And that's pretty much the end of the fly. If you turn the fly upside down, you can apply a little bit of head cement right here. There's exposed thread wraps if you look at the underside of the fly. And that'll really help with the durability of everything. If you just add a little tiny drop of head cement and make sure the eye's cleared out before you put it in the box. But that's pretty much it. That's the high floater caddis, at least what I call it. And let me know if you guys try it. Hope it works well for you. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and give it a like. Also, when you subscribe, hit that little notification bell button right beside subscribe and that'll let you know immediately when I post a video. I got some fishing videos coming up, and also if you'd like to see more photos of like fishing related stuff and more flies, check out my Instagram channel. It's Blue Line Adventures, and I got a lot of stuff on there. I'm trying to grow that side of the channel, and that's another way to get notifications. I'll post a photo over there and with a link to the video. But yeah, go ahead and check that out, and appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you next week on another Fly Tying Friday. God bless.